Just on behalf of the Maritime in New Zealand, to thank you and welcome you here, the 60th anniversary commemorations of the 1951 waterfront lockout. 60 years ago tonight, thousands of New Zealand workers were in the midst of the greatest industrial struggle this country's ever seen.
1951 resonated not only through New Zealand but all over the world. Certainly the Australian trade union movement was driven to crystallising their support, financial support, industrial support. 151 days, it seems an extraordinary amount of time to be locked out.
Maritime Union of Australia was formed nearly 20 years ago from the WWF and the SUA. Together they contributed over £40,000 to the struggle, an enormous sum of money in those days. £40,000 just from the two respective unions. The officers of the WWF and the SUA were raided by police, and the National Secretary of the WWF, Jim Healy, served 6 weeks in prison under the Crimes Act for supporting New Zealand workers. 6 weeks in prison for supporting New Zealand workers. You know, that's something we will never forget.
I mean, it was interesting who backed the wharfies in those days. It was the seamen in a separate union, the coal miners, some rail and some road. I mean, if you went through it, they're only a rather small proportion in the New Zealand workforce, I think 8 to 10%. If the whole of the workforce came behind those dock workers at that particular time, there would have been a different result, no doubt about it, just as there was in Patrick. If we had a divided trade union movement behind the MUA in Patrick, we would not have prevailed. If we didn't have the community support, if they couldn't identify the real issues behind, whether it was the 1951 strike or the Patrick strike, that this was about taking away the power of working people to have decent lives. And they believed that if it can happen to the dock workers of Australia and New Zealand, inevitably it's going to happen to them.
All unions have times when we're tested and have to fight to survive. The ILWU, it was a waterfront strike of 1934. For the Maritime Union of New Zealand, it was a waterfront lockout of 1951. I'm proud that the ILWU stood behind you during that lockout. We sent financial aid to help your families, and we kept scab cargo off of our docks. It was the right thing to do then, and today we need that kind of solidarity more than ever.
Tonight my main purpose is to thank some of the unions who come to our assistance back in 1951 and still remain brothers in arms. Firstly, our international guests of honour here tonight, Deputy National Secretary of the Maritime Union of Australia, Ian Bray, and National Vice President of the Mining Division and Construction Forestry Mining Energy Union of Australia, Ian Murray. Both these comrades have travelled from their home countries to be here tonight. True internationalism, and that's what it's about.
It was one hell of a struggle, and we should thank our lucky stars that compared with what those people put up with, what we put up today is bloody simple. But we should never take it as being simple. We should strive to reach the pinnacles of militancy and unionism that those people did. Thank you very much.
Good on you, comrades. Have a great day, have a great night, have a great conference.